Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. I'm Julien, Skeete, and in this segment, we're heading into discussions with Deonecio Salazar, Chief Executive Officer at TADCO, and we're speaking about an upcoming initiative, including information and the hosting of a special session in relation to the Office of Procurement Regulations. Good morning to you and welcome.
Morning to your team and to the viewership. How are you all today?
Doing very good indeed. And just before we dive into this upcoming special session, just give us some general updates. How are things done at TADCO?
Well, things are stabilizing at TADCO. We are actually doing some internal restructuring, making sure things are in proper order for the mandate that we have to carry out in terms of developing food sustainability and food security on the island of Tobago. And so you'll find that we are very quiet within the last few months, steadily working on a number of projects internally and are strictly working towards building out some capacity so that we can transfer the knowledge and skill sets required for the development of the sector here on the island.
All right, excellent indeed. Now, one of the focal points for TADCO from its inception continues to be that of being able to provide those services and support for farmers and fishermen and so on. Now we are seeing, and agro-processors, of course, we are seeing that further reach in terms of how do they make that link or that connection rather in relation to the OPR and the regulations and the laws that now govern how we operate. Tell us why, just elaborate a little bit for me in terms of why TADCO would have seen the need to look at a session like this.
Correct. And it's important because from a legal standpoint, the Tobago Agribusiness Development Company has a fiduciary duty to ensure that whoever we interact with conforms to the legislation as it relates to procurement. Farmers who we engage to procure raw materials, for example, for our processing facility in terms of our alternative flours, we have to ensure that they comply to the regulatory requirements. Agro-processors similarly, and the fisher folks who we would also engage at from time to time. So what we have decided to do through collaboration with the OPR, the Office of Procurement Regulation, is to ensure that these agro-processors, farmers, and fishermen will have an understanding of what is required from that context and how it marries into what TADCO's mandate is and how we will interact with them. It's not that we're making it difficult. As a matter of fact, we think we're actually going the next step further, because what we're going to do in the session is to facilitate registration at that point in time, and then subsequent to that event, we will be then having a desk at our office to assist the farmers, fishermen, and agro-processors in the process. So we're not leaving them high and dry. As a development company, we have a responsibility to ensure we hold your hand all the way to that level of competency, capacity that you would no longer necessarily require us to be hand-holding, but just deal with us from a marketing standpoint in the context of you supplying your products to us, and we basically put it out there for the market to consume.
All right, definitely. Tell us about when is this session carded for, where will it be taking place, time, etc.
So it is carded for 9 a.m. on the 18th, which is Thursday. We are hosting it at the I like to say 212. Everybody knows 212 in Tobago, right? And that's at Signal Hill. So it starts at 9, and it's a whole day session effectively. The first part of the session, which is in the morning part of it, will be where OPR will be speaking about the process and the procedures. TADCO will be interjecting and saying how we will be doing our part of it. And then we're going to start after lunch with a process of registering the farmers and fishermen and agro-processors.
So this is not just about information dissemination, but you're also giving the practical support.
Correct.
As TADCO.
Yes, and we are asking the farmers and the fisher folk and the agro-processors to work with their documentation to support their business. So if they have their farmers registration, their fisherman license, their boat registration, you have your certificate of free sale, those things, those documentation to show who you are. If you have a business that's registered, work with the company registration documents. If you are trading as, work with those documents as well. Because what we want to do is to make sure we have you registered and put you on the database effectively to go forward with you.
All right. Tell us, I know that your target broadly in terms of farmers, agro-processors, fishermen, etc. Is that only those who do business with you or those with the prospect down the road? You know, you're seeing this being advertised now. You may have an interest to come and get the information. Is it open to those persons as well?
Definitely. We're not discriminating in any case, in any way. What we are seeking to do is to make sure we capture the masses. We need to ensure that Tobago gets its space, and the agro-processors and the primary producers, I like to call them primary producers as opposed to farmers. We want to give them that sense of business ownership. And the fisher folk, we want to put them in that space to know, well, listen, you have an opportunity with us, and then you can explore the other opportunities, because we have collaborated with so many other stakeholders in the agricultural and agro-processing sector that we want to open the opportunity to everyone. So as part of the background work we've been doing, I mean, we have collaborated with NAMDEFCO, Kariri. They're working closely with the division. We need to make sure that you are here and can access the services other than what we would put out for you, besides marketing opportunities and capacity building, because we've had in the last 2 years several workshops towards capacity building at various aspects of the sector. So today's discussion surrounds another growth opportunity for persons involved in the sector.
All right, definitely. And I'm seeing there you're indicating in terms of booking your spot. Tell us about that process for persons who, you're listening to this interview now, you'd like to confirm your interest, you definitely want to participate. Is it a show up on the day, or you invite persons to call in advance? What's the process?
We'd like you to come in advance and let us know that you're interested in showing up, or call us at 639-4017. You can dial extension 1017. And we're dealing with the procurement registration process, basically. And what we want to do is know who you are and have you registered for the event, so that we'll be able to account for the number of persons in the room. It's a limited space, of course, so we want to make sure that we fill the room, but we don't want to overbook. Because if there's an oversubscription, what we will have to do is then set up another opportunity. But it does not mean that it stops there. If you were not able to attend the event, you can still feel free to communicate with us, and then we will tell you what's the next step. The next step likely would be when we set up the help desk for you to come in and have the conversation with us directly in the interim until we have the next workshop.
Why would TADCO have seen this as definitely crucial, particularly at this point, with lending this kind of extended support? Because we know naturally the OPR, in themselves and through their efforts have put on some awareness sessions and so on. Why did TADCO feel it necessary to go one step further in terms of that reach?
Well, excellent question. And the reality is that there are farmers, agro-processors, fisher folk who are still not exposed to the OPR, who are very apprehensive towards it, who want to do business with TADCO, but because of the not understanding the compliance required, we are now trying to reach out to you to share with you the information that you need to understand to make the better decisions. We make better decisions based on information. If you are not informed, then you can't make a proper decision. And then you'll feel that TADCO is not prepared to work with you, when in truth and in fact, we are prepared to work with you. However, we as a state entity have to comply to the laws. So if we are not complying to the laws on our end, then we would look very bad. But if we could work with the farmers, the agro-processors, the fisher folk, then that will translate nicely into bringing you into the fold, so that we can all work cohesively towards the end goal, which is food security on the island. And we provide the market opportunities. So if we are going to work with you, we're going to guide you holistically, because as you know, TADCO also deals with the quality of the items that you're going to be supplying with us, right? So if you're supplying us, you have to have a standard, and we are going to bring to bear those standards, which is important in today's environment, because you can't effectively be competitive unless you adhere to certain standards.
And, one of the points that you've made there so valid in the process, these providers and suppliers will benefit from this in such a way that, yes, they're able to bring their services to TADCO, but there's a further benefit that, in terms of, because of the reality now, once you're going out there in terms of seeking services and so on. And I really want to commend TADCO for that in terms of making that extra effort to be able to provide that level of support. Would you also want to share what might be some of the further benefits for those who register beyond just TADCO? Because, I mean, you're not just operating in a space where TADCO is my only. So I want you to share that so that, those farmers, fishermen, and so on out there understand that further benefit if they are to provide services to other agencies.
Right. So at TADCO, we are the main entity in the sector. What we're seeking to do is to bridge the gap between the primary producer, which is farmers, the fisherfolk, and the agro-processors, so that they can have an opportunity at places like the TRHA, for example, the school feeding program. We want to be able to bridge that gap and create that opportunity for you to get into those spaces. So whilst the emphasis will be on the OPR on this occasion, it will transcend into the quality of your product or produce. It will then allow you to get access to some of our training programs, because we will have further workshops in the year towards crop production, manufacturing practices, HACCP standards. So, and those things sound foreign, but there are real requirements in today's world, because food safety is also important. You have to make food that is consumable and thereby does not affect the consumer health-wise and otherwise. So what these programs doing is just basically bringing you into the fold so that you can be considered in the future for these opportunities. So this is the first line of contact, and then we'll have other communication with you as we go along.
I'm glad you touched on the future prospect, because I feel as though we're at a point now, because of how we operate in this global space, that we've got to remind persons who operate here that we don't just have standards applicable to Tobago. Tell us a little bit about the importance of those international and global standards, especially as it relates to food safety and going beyond just Tobago.
And so let's go to the capital of Paradise, which is our flagship, right? And we export tuna fish out of that operation. If we don't meet the standard, then we don't get the foreign exchange that we are desirous of to make the company viable, right? So it means that we'll be operating in futility. We can't operate like that. If we want to get the markets out there, we have to adhere to their standards. We are seeing in today's environment where there's a concern for climate change, for example. So the whole process of agriculture as it relates to crop production, for example. Late last year, there was a workshop about climate change, and the host of that workshop would have spoken toward the type of chemicals that you employ in your production. Now, that's important. When you look at the chemicals that are employed in the production, it then sends signals as to the quality of the produce, shelf life of the produce, and then how it would impact on you, the consumer. So these are some of the initiatives that TADCO is working on, collaborating with stakeholders so that we could pass that information to you, to change the paradigm from the traditional way we know this way. No, it is not that way, because in the international forum, you would find that there are legal implications. It could actually read down to the point that you may not even be able to export because you will be banned because of just a simple thing as your inputs that you put into your production. If your inputs are not on par with the rest of the world, your products will not be considered. And we have to reach that stage to understand what the impacts are. So all our workshops are about sharing information, creating that knowledge required. As I said before, it's about having information to make proper decisions.
All right. And just before we close, I want you to remind again our viewers and listeners, your target audience, and the upcoming special session that will be taking place.
So it's for agro-processors, it's for primary producers who we consider as farmers, fisherfolk, all. We're not discriminating. All age groups. Once you're involved in the sector, we want you attending, well, preferably, 18 years and over, right? Because we want to register businesses as well. And we want to work with you, show you how the OPR and TADCO is collaborating to help you build a better product and ensure the business that you're in is not only sustainable but viable and can be taken into years to come. We also want to work with you beyond that, but for now, let's focus on you adhering to the laws, understanding the laws, understanding how the laws impact you as a producer, and then how it's going to affect the relationship with TADCO and yourself. How we're going to work together. We're not working against you. We are working with you. It's important that we understand that. And then what we're going to do is take you to the next level in terms of your business. Because as a development company, that's what we're about. It's about stages and stages towards development.
Excellent. So just a reminder, folks, that session takes place this week on Tuesday up at the Tobago Information Technology Center 211. And remember to contact TADCO 639-4017, or feel free to just show up down there in Shore Park at the main office to seek further information and to book your spot. Thank you very much, Deonecio Salazar, Chief Executive Officer for TADCO, for joining us here on set this morning here at the Tobago Updates Morning Show. And viewers, we want to remind you that this is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.